As I sit here recounting this story, my hands still tremble and my heart races with the memory of that night. It was just another graveyard shift at the gas station where I worked. The dull hum of the fluorescent lights filled the air, and the occasional car passing by was the only sign of life in the otherwise quiet night. I leaned against the counter, half-heartedly flipping through a magazine when I saw him. He was standing by one of the fuel pumps, his silhouette cast in the dim glow of the streetlights. At first, I thought nothing of it, just another customer needing gas in the middle of the night. But something about him seemed off. He wore a long, dark coat that billowed around him in the gentle breeze, and his face was obscured by the shadow of his hood. Then he started approaching the store. I felt a shiver run down my spine, an instinctual warning that something was wrong. I tried to push aside my unease as he entered the store, but the feeling lingered like a dark cloud overhead. His eyes, hidden beneath the shadow of his hood, bore into mine with an intensity that sent a chill through my bones. "Can I help you?" I managed to choke out, my voice barely above a whisper. He didn't respond, only continued to stare at me with those piercing eyes. I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end as a cold sweat broke out across my forehead. "Sir, if you're not going to buy anything, I'm going to have to ask you to leave," I said, my voice trembling with fear. Still he said nothing, only turned and walked back out into the night. I breathed a sigh of relief as the door closed behind him, but the feeling of unease lingered, like a weight pressing down on my chest. I tried to shake off the encounter and focus on my work, but every sound seemed to echo through the empty store like thunder. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of the wind outside sent a jolt of fear coursing through my veins. Hours passed like this, each minute dragging on for an eternity. I watched the clock tick slowly towards dawn, counting down the moments until I could finally escape the suffocating grip of the night. But just when I thought I couldn't take it anymore, he returned. I saw him out of the corner of my eye, standing by the fuel pumps once again, his hood pulled low over his face. I felt a wave of panic wash over me as he stepped into the store, his footsteps echoing loudly in the empty silence. I wanted to run, to scream for help, but I was frozen in place, unable to move as he approached the counter. This time he spoke. His voice was like a knife cutting through the silence. "I need your help," he said, his words sending a shiver down my spine. I opened my mouth to respond, but no sound came out. I could only stare at him, my mind racing with fear and confusion. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper, handing it to me with a trembling hand. "Please," he said, his voice pleading. "You have to help me." I took the paper from him, my fingers shaking as I unfolded it and read the words scrawled across the page. "Help me," it read over and over again, in a frantic, looping script. I looked up at him, my eyes wide with terror. "What do you want from me?" I whispered, my voice barely audible over the pounding of my heart. But he didn't answer. Instead, he turned and walked out into the night, leaving me alone once again with my fear. I wanted to run, to call the police, to do anything to escape the nightmare that was unfolding before me. But something inside me told me that I had to help him, that I couldn't just leave him out there alone in the darkness. So I gathered up my courage and stepped out into the night, the cold air biting at my skin as I searched for him among the shadows. And then, just when I thought I had lost him, I saw a silhouette standing on the edge of the woods. "Please," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "You have to help me." I stood there for a moment, looking at him, not knowing what to do. And then, just like that, he was gone, disappearing into the darkness without a trace. I stood there in silence for a while, my heart pounding in my chest, before turning and walking back to the safety of the gas station. I finished the rest of my shift without any incident. I never saw that man ever again. As I was driving down the desolate highway, surrounded by nothing but vast stretches of darkness, I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease creeping up on me. The road seemed endless, with no signs of civilization in sight for miles. The only company I had was the soft hum of the engine and the occasional flicker of the dashboard lights. My name is Sarah, and I'm just an ordinary woman on an ordinary road trip. I don't usually find myself in eerie situations like this, but tonight was different. Tonight, I found myself in the midst of something inexplicable. As the fuel gauge on my dashboard dipped dangerously low, a feeling of panic began to rise within me. I scanned the desolate landscape for any signs of life, desperately searching for a gas station to save me from being stranded alone in the darkness. Finally, my eyes caught sight of a small, dilapidated building up ahead. Relief washed over me as I realized it was an old gas station. It looked abandoned, but the dim glow of the flickering neon sign above the entrance assured me that it was still operational. Pulling into the gravel lot, I parked my car beside the worn-out pumps and stepped out into the chilly night air. The wind whispered through the trees, sending shivers down my spine as I approached the rusted pump. As I reached for the nozzle to fill my tank, a sense of dread washed over me. It was as if the air itself had turned heavy with a foreboding presence. I shook off the feeling, chalking it up to my own paranoia, and focused on the task at hand. But then I heard it. A faint, distant sound echoing through the darkness. It was almost inaudible at first, like a whisper carried on the wind. But as it grew louder, I realized it was the sound of someone sobbing. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest as I scanned the empty lot for any signs of movement. But there was nothing. Just the eerie silence of the night, broken only by the haunting cries of the unseen figure. Feeling a sudden surge of adrenaline, I quickly finished filling my tank and jumped back into my car, desperate to escape whatever was lurking in the darkness. As I turned the key in the ignition, the engine roared to life and I peeled out of the gas station, leaving the haunting cries behind me. But as I drove away, the sense of unease still lingered in the pit of my stomach. Who was that mysterious figure? What were they doing out here in the middle of nowhere? And why did their cries sound so otherworldly? I may never know the answers to these questions, but one thing is for certain. I'll never forget the chilling encounter I had at that abandoned gas station in the dead of night. And now, as I continue on my journey, I can't shake the feeling that something or someone is still out there, lurking in the darkness, waiting to be discovered. But for now, all I can do is keep driving, hoping to leave the horrors of that night far behind me. Because in the end, some mysteries may be better left unsolved.